Okay, so it is on YouTube. All right. Okay. Okay, so this is the table, right? So this is the core of PMBOK, and there are 49 processes. And today we will start chapter number 7. Okay, this chapter number 7. So if you can see, there are actually only 4 processes, right? So far in every chapter we have seen a lot of processes. In the last chapter, 6.6, that means there are 6 processes. So in cost chapter there are only 4 processes. So, and 3 processes are under planning process group, and only 1 process is under control, monitoring and control process group, and that is known as control cost control. Generally under monitor and controlling processes names, there will be some word like control or monitor. This type of term you will see everywhere. Control, like control, validate, control. So mostly in all the names of the monitoring and control process, you will see control term or validate or monitor. This term you will see in these processes. So let me briefly give you a high level explanation of all the processes of cost management. So whenever in PMBOK you start a chapter means knowledge area. First you need to understand or ask question why we need to do this cost management knowledge area in projects. So cost management, we can easily give answer that how we will do the budgeting or costing of the project. That actually we will define or we will develop from this knowledge area, using this knowledge area. That means the processes of this knowledge area will help us to develop our project budget. And not only developing our project budget, it also will help us and also show us how we will control our cost, control our budget throughout the process. So one of the main focus of every project we do, that is actually cost management. There is no abundant resource, abundant cost, abundant budget for any organizations, even for any government. So everywhere there is limitation on cost. So you have to, Rajan is entering the room. So you have to actually focus on how to manage your project cost. How do you control your cost? The budget that is actually given to you, you have to deliver your project within that budget. That is one of the main focus of project manager. So if we see the triangle, triple constant of this triangle. So in chapter 5, we studied scope. In chapter 6, we have seen time or schedule. And now we are seeing cost. All right. And actually, this cost also coming from that WBS concept. We have broken down the project down to WBS. And then we have broken WBS into work package. The last component of WBS is work package. And in every work package, there are one or multiple tasks or activities, task 1, task 2, task 3. In the last chapter, we have actually identified duration for each task, right? Duration for each task. All these processes we use to find out the duration and start and end date of each task. And also we talked slightly about this thing. If I come down here, in resource chapter, estimate activity resource. That means for each activity, how much resource we need, that we also need to identify. Now, if we know, let me explain you, if we know for any task, the duration, that means how many days or how many hours we need to complete the task. And also we know the resource, how many resource will be involved to do this task. So we know duration from schedule chapter. We know resource from the resource chapter. And now, if I just know the rate of all resources, that resource can be material resource or physical resource. So if you know about the rate of the resources, then we can easily calculate, for example, if this task takes 8 hours to complete and two resource works, say two people resource will work here to complete this task, and resource 1 and resource 2 all are having, say, $20 per hour cost. All right. So we can easily, if we know the rate, we have already known the duration from the schedule chapter, that is 8 hours. So 8 hours into two people, that means total 60 man hours. And every hour is $20. So if we multiply by this 20, we will get $320. So this way we can easily identify cost for this task. So similarly, under a work package, if there are 3 or 4 tasks, so we can easily find out all the cost for all the tasks, right? Then if we add up, then we will get the work package cost. Similarly, if we move above, from bottom up to above, and we calculate the WBS component cost, then we will get the WBS cost. And similarly, if we aggregate all the cost of all the work packages and WBS component, then we can find out the project budget, right? So that is the idea of all these cost processes. First process is plan cost management. Then estimate cost. This estimate cost is talking about the concept I have just explained here. Estimate cost means estimating cost for each and every task of the project. That means under one work package, all the tasks. And similarly, if there are 50 work packages in the project, then you have to identify all the tasks of all the work packages. So that is known as estimate cost. Then determine budget is means aggregating all the activities cost of our packages cost. And after aggregation, the figure we will get, that is actually project budget. So determine budget is talking about the whole project budget. That means aggregating every cost component of the project and finding out the project budget. So after completing 7.3, we will get the project budget. So when we will get the project budget, according or following that project budget, we will execute, right? And throughout the project, we have to control that cost. That budget we cannot exceed. If there is any chance of changing the budget after this determine budget process, that means after cost baseline, then you have to take permission and take approval from your management. So this is the whole scenario of project cost management. So do you have any question right at this moment before jumping into the project slides, presentation slides? So সবাই শুনতে পাচ্ছি তো না?
জি স্যার।
জি ভাই।
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's get started with the presentation slides. So actually from this chapter, we'll get the cost baseline. We'll see 4 processes in detail, and one mathematics we'll discuss in detail, that is actually earned value management. So it will take more than 30 minutes to make you understand what is earned value analysis or earned value management and how do we'll do the maths. And this is a great tool. This is a great mathematical tool to measure your project progress throughout the project. This is this earned value management. Okay, so we are in chapter 7, project cost management, and these all are the 4 processes already mentioned and discussed about this. So this is a small chapter, 40 pages in PMBOK. Page number 231 to 270, and we'll see a lot of maths, lot of equations. So there is a equation. So when I will explain all the maths, then you will understand this. So I am not actually going to discuss here. I will start this at the end of the class to explain all the mathematical formulas and how do you apply in the project management. So tailoring considerations. So when you are actually doing the project budgeting, cost management of the project, then actually knowledge management, one tailoring consideration you need to consider. That means if you have knowledge related to cost, that will help you. Estimating and budgeting. So some financial and accounting knowledge you need to have. Then we will detail talk about earned value management. This is also known as earned value analysis. Use of agile approach. In agile, how actually we calculate project budget. Generally, what we have seen in agile, scope is not fixed. So scope is always changing, but they actually try to put bar on time and cost. Within that time and cost, you have to actually accept any change that can be manageable within that time and budget. And governance, project management governance, if you have to follow that governance. So please remember one very important thing. When you are talking about project cost, project budget, that means we are talking about money. And money is sensitive for every project. So you have to follow the guideline, procedures, policies of your organization for spending a single penny of your organization. Because if you do anything wrong with your money expenditure, whether you are in a government organization or in a private organization, you will face terrible consequences if you don't follow the guideline policy of the organization to spend money. So in cost chapter, anything you do related to budget, costing, spending money, always follow formal procedure. All right, don't do anything informal. That will actually create trouble in your career. Okay. In agile environment, consideration for agile and adaptive environments, project with high degrees of uncertainty, we will do, or complex project we will do using agile methods. So in agile methods, what actually we try to do, we try to fix the time and cost, and we actually take changes. And generally when we do any contact with vendor in agile environment, then actually what we do, we actually agree with them some master service agreement that we'll actually study in procurement chapter. So within that master service agreement, we actually try to fix time and cost, and we have actually always keep our doors open so that we can do any change related to scope. So lot of new terms we will see in cost chapter. One term is, can anyone have any idea about this term? Ballpark figure or ballpark estimate? Have you heard about this term, ballpark figure? Sometimes it's known as ballpark figure or ballpark estimation.
No,
What
sir.
is it?
मैं सुनी नहीं.
Ballpark. So if you try to park a football in any place, as it is a round shape, what will happen? It will not fix, right? It will try to move. It will move from here to there, right? Because this is a round shape football. So if you place it anywhere, it will actually move with the wind. Right? So ballpark figure means at the beginning of the project, sometimes what happens? Let me explain, give you an example. So when actually you first time start talking with your customer as a vendor, it happens sometimes with me. So first meeting today with the customer, and he is actually giving me a high level requirement. So I want this, that, I want this. So very high level, just first meeting with the customer. So after giving me the high level requirement of the project within 10 minutes or 5 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, then he directly asks me questions, how much money do you need to complete the project? So this scenario happens. Management want to know how much money we need to expend for this project. but detail requirement is still not there. Just 10-15 minutes, he actually give you the high level description. So it is not actually possible to estimate properly. Definite estimation is not possible. But as management will be asking you on the table, how much money do you need to complete the project? At that time, sometimes we actually give a round order of magnitude. See, ROM, round order of magnitude. That means approximately আমরা কোনো একটা cost দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করি. We try to give some budget. And that actually practically varies from -25% to +75%. That means if I say it will take 100 taka, so it can be actually increased to do the project to 175 taka. Or maybe it can take 75 taka, -25. That means a very high range. The deviation is very high. So this type of estimation is known as ballpark estimation or ballpark figure. That means that is actually not a correct or exact figure. That is at the beginning of the project, very high level estimation of the project. That can vary 100% actually. -25 to 75% means what? 100% variation can be happen. So that is not a proper or definitive estimation. That is just a round figure, okay? Approximate figure. So that is actually known as ballpark figure. So in the industry or in the corporate area, this term actually frequently used. All right. So other key terms we will see when we will go through the chapter. So first process is plan cost management. So plan cost management is the similar type of process. When we start a knowledge area, first we have to plan. How do we do this knowledge area? That means this knowledge area, other processes, how will we do? So that planning you have to do here, plan cost management. Also, as we are talking about cost, is there any organizational guideline that I mentioned earlier, or any policy, any procedure that you need to address here? So if there is any guideline, for example, if you do government purchase, if you are involved with government purchase, all the government organizations, they follow PPR, public procurement rules, that is mandatory for purchasing anything. So all the government purchase is done following the PPR. Similarly, if you are working in a private organizations, any purchase you do in private organization, that also need to follow guideline of the organization. You cannot break or you cannot skip that guideline. So if you skip that guideline, you will be in trouble, right? So in cost management plan, you have to identify all those organizational procedure links. All right. And also you are actually calculating the project budget or cost for every task. So what will be the currency? If you are working in Bangladeshi project, the currency will be taka. But if you are doing the project for USA or Canada, so you are doing project in Canadian dollar or US dollar. So that currency you have to set. And cost is very sensitive. That's why management actually wants reports regularly, frequently. So what will be the reporting format? How much money you have to spend? What was the plan and how much you spent? So, and how much actually management achieved spending this much money. So that reporting format you have to define in the cost management plan, so that your project follow that management plan, that reporting format when they actually deliver or provide report to the management. So these are the responsibility of cost management plan, cost management process, and cost management plan will have all those details. All right. So what we need as input, we need project charter. Why we need project charter? Because in the project charter, we have seen there is high level project budget mentioned there. So that will actually guide you when you are developing the actual or estimated project budget, definitive project budget. Then scheduling is very important, right? Because you need to know the duration of every task, right? duration of the project. So that will help you to estimate the project budget, and also risk management plan. Because for risk, if you don't handle risk, if you don't manage risk, risks can actually increase cost of the project. So risk management plan need to consider. And 3 and 4 is very important because cost management is very, very sensitive. I am talking again, it is very sensitive issue. So always try to follow organizational process asset, organizational procedure links, and enterprise environmental factors. That means if there is government regulations, you also have to follow that. All right. So skipping VAT tax, you cannot do business. So you have to ensure that everything is managed. Okay, so let's see what is the output of cost management plan, cost management. So the output is cost management plan, and what will be the content of the cost management plan? Unit of measures. That means what will be the currency and the resources we will be using in the project. Say we are using staff or people resource. So how we will actually pay them, hourly or daily or weekly or monthly. So that thing you have to set in the cost management plan. Then if you use physical or materials, so meter, liter, there are actually different kind of measurement methods. So that you need to plan here in cost management plan. Then level of precision. Based on your organization's policy, you have to actually follow the precision. Precision means actually after decimal point, how much, how further you will take the zero value after decimal. That means generally in Bangladesh, after decimal, we use two numbers, 0.50, 0.89. In USA or in some other places, after point or decimal point, they take actually four numbers. All right. So that precision, you have to decide here. What is the practice? In Bangladesh, everywhere actually practices taking two numbers after decimal when you're calculating money. Level of accuracy. So how definitive your estimate should be. That actually will mainly depend upon your management. They are actually how sensitive. All right. So will they accept 10% deviation or not? Or they actually focus, they are very cost sensitive and they'll actually not allow 2% or 5% variance. So then actually you have to estimate that definitive. All right. And organizational procedure link, cost control threshold, you have to put bar, how much maximum you can expend. That also come from sponsors or stakeholders. Their actually mindset and their capability, their financial capability. And rules of performance measurement that I was mentioning, that you have to, how actually management understand or know how the money you are spending, how much value they are getting by spending the money. So that's why there are actually, maybe there are a lot of financial tools there, but in the PMBOK, we'll actually learn about earned value management. Using earned value management, you can show management after spending money, how much value you have generated. Reporting formats you have to define, and process description means the future projects, the next processes of this knowledge area, how do you do that? And if any other additional detail you want to add here, you can add in cost management plan. Next, we are talking about estimate cost. Next process, estimate cost. That high level description I have already given you, the high level concept. That means we have to estimate cost for every activity, every task of every work packages, every WBS component of the whole project. So what the sequence will be like this. In define scope, we have identified the WBS, right? That we have defined the full scope. Then we have created the WBS, right? Then we have broken down the WBS into activities. In the middle, there will be work package actually. So in the WBS, we'll get work package and we will break that work package into different activities. Why we have did that in schedule chapter, right? Then you have to estimate activity resource. how many resource, what type of resource you need to complete the task. That we actually will do in resource chapter. We'll do in the resource chapter, but I mentioned when I have explained the schedule chapter. Then estimate activity duration, where we have seen this is process name actually. This is from schedule chapter. So we have got the duration for a task, all tasks, resource for all tasks, and number of activities under all work packages. At the beginning of the chapter, I have actually explained in detail, right? How actually we calculate cost for each and every activity. So after combining all this, we will get estimate cost. That means cost for each and every activity. All right. So that thing actually I explained at the beginning of the class. All right. So this way we have to estimate cost for every activity. So estimate cost means you have to identify all the cost for all the activities. Okay, so before beginning or explaining the process chart, ITTO chart, let me explain some terms that you will see in the exam or in the PMBOK. And this actually you should know, because all these are actually related to project cost. So these terms are actually coming from finance or accounting. These terms. So who from in this class, I think a lot of you guys actually from BBA or MBA background. So there you have seen this, right? In accounting, introduction to accounting or financial management, everywhere you have seen these terms: fixed cost, variable cost, direct cost, indirect cost, sunk cost. But here actually we'll try to understand these terminologies with project perspective. So what is fixed cost in project? Fixed cost means if any cost is fixed throughout the project. So that is known as fixed cost for the project. All right, that cost will not be changed. For example, you are doing a project that is actually 6 months in length, and you will use your project office, and the rent of the project office will be same for the 6 months. Say it is 50,000 taka per month. So that is actually fixed cost for that project. Variable cost as the name actually showing us variable cost. So the cost actually changes in the project life cycle. That is actually variable cost. For example, the labor cost or the material cost. So the cement cost or sand cost or rod cost, that can be actually deviate frequently. So that is actually variable cost. Direct cost. What is direct cost? Direct cost means the cost that is actually directly involved in the project. For example, say we are going to build a, say, so 2-story building, and we need 1 lakh or 100K bricks. So these 100K bricks will be used in this building. Nothing will be used in another building. So all these bricks will be used in this project. So that is actually direct cost for this project. Indirect cost, if there is some resource or some equipment that is used in different projects simultaneously, then that is actually indirect cost. For example, ইট ভাঙার কল বা এক্সকেভেটর, যেটা দিয়ে আসলে গর্ত করা হয় মাটি। So excavator, it will not be consumed in a single project. That excavator we can use in different projects. So when that excavator will be used in my project, so some cost will be incurred in my project, but that will not be fully consumed or eaten up into my project. So that is known as indirect cost. Last thing is sunk cost. Very important. So can you tell me what is sunk cost? Sunk cost, this is the financial accounting term. In project perspective, sunk cost mean, say, let me give you an example. So say we are doing a project for 3 months, 1, 2, 3. So already we are here, say 2 months is passed. So when 2 months is passed, that means what? Lot of money already expended in this project, right? Say total budget was 500 USD, 500K USD, right? And within this 2 months, we have already spent $3,000. All right, 300K. We have another 200K to expend, and we have 1 month in our hand. So at this moment, the money you have spent already in the project, that is known as sunk cost, already sunk in the project. It is not possible to fully recover that money again because it is already spent. All right, already spent. So that is known as sunk cost. All right. So another concept is there that is known as opportunity cost. Another definition you also need to know, opportunity cost. That is another financial term, opportunity cost. Opportunity cost means, for example, one project A and B, two projects, project A and B. All right. So for example, if we do the project A, say it will give us 100K benefit, 100K benefit. But if you do project B, it will give you actually 200K of profit or benefit. But both the project actually, if you want to do the both projects, say it will take 500K to complete, and it will take say 100K to complete. Cost will be this. So if management is not having the capacity of doing all two of these projects, then management what they will decide? They will decide, say for example, they will do the project A only. So if they decide on project A, then opportunity cost will be the 100K that they have not able to do because the constraint or decision from management. So the project, the opportunity they lost, the cost of that project is known as opportunity cost. All right. So this is known as opportunity cost. All right. So now let us see the ITTO for estimate cost. So here see our output is basis of output is cost estimate. That means cost for each and every activities. That is actually known as cost estimates. So what we will need, what do we need for input? One is actually project schedule, because we need to know the duration of every task, and also resource requirements. How many, what type of resource, and how many resource do you need? Resource requirements. So these two actually main input, right? For every task, if we know the resource and the duration, right? And what type, the rate of the resource, rate, that means dollar value of the resource, then we can easily calculate the estimate cost of this task. That is actually estimate cost, right? So using this input, we can actually find out cost estimate for each and every task. All right. So what are the tools we can use to estimate the cost of the task? So if you can remember all these four, these parameters, these tools and techniques we have already discussed in the last class, right? Can you remember? This estimation technique we have used in schedule chapter. Can you remember? So we actually in detail explained what is actually analogous estimating. That actually we estimate in schedule chapter, time. So when you are estimating duration for any task, what we did, we actually use these techniques. So what is analogous? Analogous means using analogy, using reference from historical data. If earlier tasks say for example, took $100 to complete. So if the task is same type of task, then we can again say for this project, for this task, we need say another $100. All right. So from previous or historical information, historical experience, if we doing analogy, if we estimate for any task, that is known as analogous estimating. So in the schedule chapter, we have actually estimate duration for the task. In cost chapter, we are actually what we are doing. We are estimating the cost of the task. And second tool is parametric estimating. What is parametric estimating? Can anyone remember what is parametric estimating? We talked about this in schedule chapter. What is parametric estimating? Using any parameter, right? Parametric, using some parameters or arithmetic. So what we told there? We told there that say 200 square feet floor, we want to.
Yes, sir.
We want to.
It's a statistical relationship, sir. Used for to tell the relationship between the historical data and other variables.
And you have to use some arithmetical calculations.
Yeah.
So for a 200 square feet floor, if you want to put tiles here, all right, new tiles here. So if one tiles to put one tile, if it takes say $10, so 200 square feet floor needs how much money? So easily you can calculate from here. So if 1 square feet takes $10, so 200 square feet, how much money we need? So if we just multiply by $20, so we can easily find out it will take $4,000 to put all the new tiles in this floor. So that is known as parametric estimating. All right. And bottom-up estimating, that I also mentioned. So if a big task, chunk of task A, if you cannot calculate the cost of this task, then you can break this task into a smaller component again. Say it is A1, it is A2, and it is A3. Then now try to calculate a cost for this A1, A2, and 3. For example, if it takes $50, it is $100, and it is $200. So total cost for this A activity will be $350. So what we are doing, we are breaking that chunk or big activity into a smaller task, smaller activity. Then we are calculating the estimates. Then bottom up, doing bottom up, adding up or aggregating everything, we are getting the cost of the big or chunk of task, right? So that is known as bottom up estimating. From bottom we are calculating the estimation with estimating the cost for the upper activity. That is known as bottom up estimation. 3-point estimate. So can you remember 3-point estimate? And there was a name for 3-point estimate. That was key. What was that? PART. Program evaluation and review technique. And there was a formula, right? Can you remember that formula? Formula was optimistic plus 4 into most likely plus pessimistic divided by 6, right? So 3-point estimating we have used in duration. At that time we actually say that for a task, how much optimistic, if everything goes okay, in the best case scenario, how much time we need. In the worst case scenario, how much time we need. And in most likely scenario, how much time generally we need to complete the task. But same tool when you're using in cost, then we will actually talk about what? We'll talk about cost. What is the optimistic value if everything goes well, that is the optimistic value. If everything goes wrong, worst case scenario, then how much money we need, and most likely is the general scenario. সচরাচর কি ঘটে, what happens in general. So that is the most likely cost. So adding up all the cost and dividing by 6, the value we will get, that is actually 3-point estimation. All right. So in the exam, you will get 3-4 questions from these 3-4 tools. So whether it can come from the time chapter or schedule chapter, also you can get question from the cost chapter. All right. So these are the main tools that we can use to estimate cost for each activity. Then also we can use data analysis tools like alternative analysis. That means not just cost, finding out options. Say you need one material or one equipment. If that equipment is not available, then what can you do? Is there any alternative options? Or for example, you are looking for a 10 years experience as software architect, but you are not getting. Then how can actually you do alternatives? What will be the alternative plan? So that is actually alternative analysis. So you have to think about what are the alternatives related to resource, related to cost. Reserve analysis. We talk in detail reserve analysis. Can you remember reserve is 2 types? Can anyone remember reserve? We talked about reserve analysis. Reserve is buffer, keeping some buffer to handle risk. So this reserve was 2 types. Can anyone remember what are the types? Any idea? There are two types now. There are 2 types of reserve. One is contingency reserve, right? Contingency reserve. বাংলায় বলি আমরা আপৎকালীন contingency. And another one is management reserve. All right. So contingency reserve is for known unknown situation, and management reserve is for unknown situations that you cannot see. There is no actually future forecasting about this scenario. That is known as unknown situation. So when we are talking about cost for every task, then we need to analyze how much extra money we need if there is something wrong. Is any risks arise? Then how do we deal with that situation? So that's why actually we keep contingency reserve. And we keep also management reserve if there is anything happens that is actually out of our imagination, right? Which actually known as act of God. So say natural calamities, earthquake. All right. So these are the things that is actually we cannot forecast. So for that actually sometimes we keep management reserve. So both that cost related reserve you have to keep, and you have to add with all the activities, all the work packages. So if anything wrong happens, so that this money can help you. Next is cost of quality. This is very important. Cost of quality means what? Quality is not free. Same building, one building can be created by spending 1 crore taka or 5 crore taka. Same building can be built using 100 crore money, 100 crore taka, because of the quality, because of the features, because of the functionalities, because of the materials. So if you want to use the best materials that is available in the USA, all right, and you want to make your house building, then it may take 100 crore taka. But for a normal type building in Bangladesh, maybe it will take 4-5 crore money. So cost is not free. Quality is not free. So if you want to give quality in your product service, then you have to ensure that you actually calculate the cost for that quality also. All right. So based on your quality requirements, this cost will increase, and that cost you have to include with all the activities. All right. So when we are doing any activity, if there is any quality requirements for that activity, for that feature, that quality, that cost for that quality should be considered and should be added with the estimate cost. All right. So this is cost of quality. So what are the component of cost of quality? COQ. I'm using a abbreviated term. COQ, cost of quality. So what are the component we need to consider, we need to add with cost of quality, that we will discuss in detail in quality chapter, in the next chapter, quality chapter, chapter number 8. All right. So from cost of quality, you will get 1 to 2 questions in the exam from just cost of quality. Detail we will see in the quality chapter. Okay. Now, if you use any software, project management information systems, say Excel or anything, generally when you do budgeting or costing, generally we use, at least we use, nowadays you use what? Excel. Or if you use any software, you can use that. In Microsoft Project, in Primavera, budgeting is very easy. If you know how duration for each task and what type of resource and how many resources you need and the rate, software will automatically calculate the budget for the project if you use any software tool. Decision making, is there any issue related to decision consensus? Then you have to take votes, and there are different kind of voting techniques. So any technique that is appropriate for your project, for your team, that you can use. So what is the output? Cost estimates. For each and every activity of work package of the project, you have to do this process. All right. So doing this process, we will get estimate for cost for each and every task. All right. And also basis of estimate. Basis of estimate means what? Based on what you actually estimated this cost for a task. For example, the material rate is, you are going to buy rod. One task will need 40 ton of rod, 40 ton of rods. All right. So if the rod price is say 65,000 per ton, taka per ton. So where from you have got this data? From the vendor, from the supplier, or the hardware shop. So that pricing, that invoice, that bill should support you. All right, that is known as basis of estimates. Based on what you have estimated the cost for each and every activity. All right. So these two are actually main output from this estimate cost process. Okay, so in the later slides, you will see detail of all this that I discuss here. So you will see details of inputs, all right, details of tools and techniques. TT means tools and techniques, analogous estimating, parametric, bottom-up, 3-point estimate. And also remember triangular distribution. There are actually 2 variations of the formula, right? One is for triangular distribution, where actually we divide by 3, and beta distribution we divide by 6. So that variation is also applicable in the cost perspective. Reserve analysis, so contents reserve, management reserve, cost of quality we'll see in detail in quality chapter. And I have actually created this table that I mentioned earlier in the schedule chapter also. So you can read out these 2 difference of the contents reserve and management reserve. That will actually make you clearly understand what is the difference or relations between these 2 reserves. All right. Okay. So these are the main 2 outputs, cost estimate and basis of estimate. So this term already we have discussed, rough order of magnitude. Another term you will see in PM work, that is actually definitive estimate. Definitive estimate means the estimation is quite definitive. That actually can differ from -5% to plus 10%. So this is a quite definitive estimation that is known as definitive estimate. And there is another term, budget estimate, that is not in PM box. So no need to read this. This is actually mentioned in Rita Malkai's book. So no need to read this. So this is very important. Sometimes in the exam you will get questions. Rough order of magnitude or ballpark figure. This is also known as ballpark figure that I discussed early in this chapter. So you might get some question about rough order of magnitude. What is the value of rough order of magnitude? So you have to know the value is minus 25% to plus 75%. All right. Okay. So we have done the hardest part of the estimation. That means we have estimated all the activities cost in the last process, that is estimate cost process. Now determine budget. Determine budget. That means now we are already having all the cost for all the activities, all the work packages from the last process we did this. Now determine budget is actually accumulating or aggregating everything that we have already find out and finding out the cost baseline or project budget. This is known as cost baseline. That means aggregating all the cost of all the tasks, all the work packages, will find out the project budget, right? That budget is known as cost baseline. And the process following which we'll find out this aggregated value of the total project budget, that is known as determined budget. All right. So see what will be the input here. So main input is these two, cost estimate for each activity and basis of estimate. So these two are the main inputs here. All right. And there are some actually supporting inputs also. Business case. See, business case. Because in business case and benefits management plan, we have actually, there is a content about the project budget. How much money do you need to complete the project? So when you are finally determining the budget, you always try to see whether you are exceeding this business case amount or not. Is it okay with that or not? So that check and balance you need to do comparing these documents. All right. If you see number four is agreements. That means, say my earlier example, rod. You will not create rods, or you will not make rod. So you will purchase rod from some vendors, right? You will purchase cement from other vendors. So if there is any agreement with any vendor related to resource or material, so from their agreement, from their contract, you will get the cost value of those material, those resources. So those costs you need to add here to find out the cost baseline or the final budget of the project. So if you can see here, the tools, number of tools is very less than earlier one. So main tool here is cost aggregation. What is aggregation? That means aggregating, right? We have in WBS, we have created WBS, right? Then work package, and all work packages are divided into different tasks, right? So for each task, we have find out cost that will actually, if we add up, aggregate everything, all the work packages, all the tasks, then we will get the project budget. So main tool is aggregation. Aggregation means adding up all the cost for each activity, and then we will get the project budget. That is known as cost aggregation tool. So this is a very simple tool. That means just aggregating or adding up all the cost. Reserve analysis. Already we have discussed reserve analysis. So when you are doing that final determining the budget, so if there is any reserve left over, or if you want to add management reserve, so then you have to consider this. Historical information review. Please check these three tools, because all these are very important. One is historical information review. That means if you have any experience of doing similar kind of project as a project manager, or your organization have this experience of doing similar kind of project earlier, so you have to see whether this project budget historically okay with the earlier projects. Is there any massive difference or not? So that is actually known as historical information review. All right. So number 5, funding limit reconciliation. Reconciliation means what? Reconcile মানে মিলায় দেখা ঠিক আছে কিনা, reconcile করা। আমরা বোধহয় জানি ব্যাংকে, in all the banks, when they actually close the bank, manager and accountant, they actually left the bank at the last, because their duty is to reconcile everything, all the transaction they did from 9 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m. all debit and credit should be balanced. They need to reconcile, and if everything is okay, then only they can leave the office. So funding limit reconciliation is, you are, after doing all these activities, say you have find out that this project will take $2 million. All right, but your management is having in their budget, say, only $1.5 million. But your project budget, when you have calculated everything, you are showing that it is $2 million. Now you have to actually reconcile with this funding limit. And how do you actually try to deliver the project within this funding limit? Or maybe you can say reducing some part, or doing some, using some technique, or changing some quality criteria or material or resource. You make the budget into $1.7 million. And if management approve, then this is the reconciled figure for your project. All right. So this is actually funding limit reconciliation. You have to understand, management is not having abundant money. The money you want, you will get that. That will not happen. So you have to always reconcile your organization's funding limit. Number 6 is financing. This is a new tool. Please remember, this is a very new tool in 6th edition. Financing means where from the project finance is coming. That actually you need to also add in your project budget. In private sector, what happens? All the budget cannot, organizations actually don't give the budget from their shareholders' money or from their equity. What they do actually, sometimes they take 40% loan from the banks. All right, 20% maybe from shareholders, and another 40% maybe they will give you from the capex of the organization of that year. So these financing, where from the money is coming for this project, that should be mentioned in the project budget. All right. For government projects, this is very important. For government project, you'll always see this. For example, this is a World Bank finance project. All right. Or this is a, say, Netherlands government funded projects. And also government of Bangladesh fund also will be used. So you will see always how much money World Bank is giving. Say 60% money is given by World Bank. Government of Bangladesh, they will say give 20% of the project budget, and the rest will be given by the Netherlands government. So that is the financing information for the government projects. All right. So after doing all this, applying all these tools, we'll get the cost baseline. That means the final budget of the project that you cannot change. That is approved copy, approved of by the management, and your duty as a project manager is to finish the project within that set budget, approved budget. That is known as cost baseline. All right. With that cost baseline, another output you need to create. Project funding requirements. So just now I have given you an example, $1.75 million say you need for a project to complete. So you are the project manager. So when you are designated as project manager, you have the responsibility to use this money, to spend this money. But do management will give you this money at the beginning of the project? The whole money will management give you? ম্যানেজমেন্ট কি সব টাকা আপনাকে দিয়ে দিবে প্রজেক্টের শুরুতেই যে ভাই তোমার এত টাকা লাগবে তাহলে নিয়ে নাও তুমি প্রজেক্ট করো?
দিনা স্যার,
হ্যাঁ, এটা কখনোই করা হয় না। হোয়াট উইল হ্যাপেন? Donor funded or private sector everywhere. So you have to show that in quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, for example, this project will need 3 quarters or 9 months. So when actually you need how much money? So quarter one, say you need 500K. In quarter two, maybe you need 100K. And rest 25K you will need in the quarter three. So management will release money accordingly, will not release the whole money at the beginning. So that is known as project funding requirements. I need from cost baseline, we know that we need $1.75 million project funding requirements. We will show management every month or every quarter how much money we need, and management will release the money accordingly. That is known as project funding requirements. All right. So in the next slides, we'll see a lot of images, figures, interesting figures that will actually make your concept very clear. So in this slide, a lot of things I have discussed. If you have any question, you can ask me. If you have any question. সবাই কি বুঝতে পারছে সব নাকি? সবাই যদি বুঝতে পারছি না?
মোটামুটি বুঝতে পারছি, পরে আবার শুনবো লেকচার।
আচ্ছা, okay, all right. So detail you will get here, and I am actually interested to show this. There are a couple of figures here, very interesting. This figure, see, you have to read this figure. You have to read this figure from right to left. From right to left. So how actually do you calculate the project budget? That is actually mentioned here. So what we do actually, see, we have to read this figure from right to left. So first we need to do this. Activate estimated cost. That means for every activity we need to estimate cost, right? And with that cost, we need to also add contingency reserve, right? How much extra money we need if there is any risk involved to do this activity. So say for this activity, say we need $100. And if there is any risk, for that risk we have kept say extra $20, right? $20. So this is $120. 20 is contingency reserve and main cost is $100, right? So now come in the next here what is happening? So activity is under some work package, right? Some work package. So when we are calculating all the costs for all the activities of a work package, then we are adding all the cost for that activities, we'll get the work package cost. And also adding all the contingency reserve for all the activities under that work package, we'll get the contingency reserve for that work package. Understood? Okay. Then control account. Can you remember control account is actually WBS component at higher level, not work package level. We set control accounts at the higher level. For example, if a project has hardware part, software part, and people. We will need some people also. So for hardware, we actually what we do? Hardware, say network components, computers, laptops. So we put the control account here at this level. So if we from this we actually getting work package level calculations. Now we are adding all the work packages cost and contingency reserve to get the control account value. That means this value, right? WBS component value. So when we are getting control accounts value for this hardware, this software, these people, then if we add all, we'll get the cost baseline. All right. See, so far we have not talked about anything related to management reserve. We are always talking about contingency reserve. So everything is contingency reserve. The unseen situation, but the risky or unplanned situation that can happen. So we have got cost baseline. So there is a very important difference between cost baseline in PMBOK and project budget. If you can check from this figure. So cost baseline is what? All the price, all the estimate, all the cost of all work packages, all activities, plus contingency reserve for each and every activity. There is no management reserve added here. Then with that cost baseline, management will set some extra cost. Generally, as a project manager, you may not know about that figure. In government project in Bangladesh, generally 1% or 2%, maximum 2% of total budget is kept as management reserve. If any adverse situation happens, any act of God happens, which is not manageable by or forecaster, that is not forecasted, so that situation can be handled from this reserve. So when we are adding cost baseline plus management reserve, then you are getting actually project budget. All right. So please remember, as per PMBOK, project budget and cost baseline is two different things. All right. But generally, in practical cases or in our real life, we say project budget cost baseline is the same thing. But in PMBOK, there is a difference between project and cost baseline. So if you read out the difference in the table, if you read the difference between management reserve and contingency reserve, you will see management reserve is not within the discretion or within the hand of project manager. Project management manager cannot use management reserve without the permission of management. But contingency reserve, project manager has the authority to use contingency reserve because it is part of cost baseline, and project manager has the authority to use the cost baseline, which actually includes contingency reserve. So project manager can use the contingency reserve because already that is approved by the management. But if you want to use management reserve for any adverse situation, you have to always take permission, take approval from management. All right, that is not part of cost baseline. That is extra money, and management always expect this money will not be used. All right. So this is the difference between cost baseline and project budget. So if you can remember this figure, you can easily understand how the project calculation happens in PMBOK, in the projects generally, and what is the difference between project budget and cost baseline. All right. Okay. Next, cost baseline, sometimes known as S curve. S curve. I don't know whether you have heard this term or not. S curve. What is S curve? S curve means, let me draw a simple graph. Yeah. So this is time. Time. and this is cost, cumulative cost. So generally, if you put project cost cumulative figure in this graph against time, then you will always find this type of figure. That means at the beginning, project cost is lower. When we are going in execution, the cost is high. At the execution, generally it is in peak. And when we are going to close the project, it is again coming to the value is lowering down. So it generally looks like S. All right. That's why sometimes cost baseline is known as S curve. All right. You will get questions in the PMP exam, S curve. And in the practical field, we use S curve frequently in different projects because this S curve will give you progress report, the expenditure report, how much actually you are spending, what was the plan, and how much actually you are spending. That figure you can see from here. So say at the beginning, we have draw this figure with our plan, project budget or cost baseline. And when we are actually spending the money, say after 3 months, if you draw how much cost you have actually spent, then maybe the figure will below this line or above this line, or maybe with the same line. If with the same line, that means we are working as per plan. If I below here, below this line, then what happens? Actual cost is lower. But if actual cost goes up, that means we are expending more money than planned. And if it goes like this, then project actually we cannot complete within the budget. All right, so S-curve actually a popular financial progress matrix that actually used in different projects. If you see here this figure, this is a great figure. Huh? Here actually you will see all the terms that I have already discussed. This is time and this is the cumulative cost, cumulative values. So this is the cost baseline. Cost baseline means our plan that is management approved. We need $1.75 billion, for example. So that is the cost baseline we have drawn like this. Now, see, this is the below line. This is the actual expenditure. At real time, actually, what is happening when you are doing the project? Generally, what happens? We actually cannot move or spend the money as per the plan. So in this scenario, what is happening? From at this point till this point, we are spending, our expenditure is lower. That means within control, within budget. But after this point, it is actually shoot higher, right? And our target was to complete the project here. But what is happening? It is completing here, right? This is known as BAC. BAC means budget at completion. Budget at completion. The cost baseline is known as budget at completion. That means how much money we need to complete the project. So BAC was here. But what we are seeing, from this point, we are spending more and the project will end up with higher cost. How much higher? This is the how much, this amount. All right. Okay. So just a simple question. So is it good for us or bad? What is the graph showing? Is it good or bad?
Bad.
From this, before that we are okay, but from this point and finally what happened, this is the last, say here project is finished. Here actually we need extra money, and that money is actually not, that means what? We have already used up the cost baseline. That means this extra money, where from we will get? That's where management reserve will come into play. Because that is already you expend all the monies that is given as a project manager to you, already expend. So that extra money for some reason may be used, maybe spent. So that extra money is coming from where? The management reserve. So are you understanding the management reserve and cost based difference? This figure also showing that. Last point is we have talk about funding requirements, right? Can you remember? Management will not give all the money at the beginning. They will give the money, why? Monthly or quarterly, or some period. So see, this staircase is showing when you actually get money from the management. You will get money here at this point, at the beginning some money, here some money, here you are getting some money, right? So this staircase representation is the funding requirements point, when you will get funding for your project. So this is a great picture, great graph that people actually use in their project management, especially financial, to measure financial progress of the project. You can also use using any Excel, you can create this. So I can actually show project funding requirements. You can also show using bar chart, right? In which month, how much money you need. That is also one kind of funding requirement representation. And the funding requirements may include the sources of the funding. That is the financing tool. How much money government is providing, how much money from World Bank, how much money is from Netherlands government. So in chapter 6, let me wrap up. From chapter 6, what we have seen? See, we have talked about, we have got scope baseline. In PMBOK, there are 3 baselines I mentioned several times. So from scope chapter, we have found out the scope baseline. That means the scope is fixed. Within that scope, we need to deliver. Then we actually find out the schedule from which chapter? Chapter number 6. And that schedule we have to, as a project manager, follow that schedule, that timing to complete the project. And from today, from chapter 7, we are getting cost baseline. So these are the 3 main performance measurement baseline as a project manager. As a project manager, you have to keep on focusing, keep on balancing all these 3 baselines. All right. So that is the main responsibility of the project manager. Performance measurement baseline is the combination of all these 3. Based on these 3, actually, project's performance is measured. That's why these 3 together is known as performance measurement baseline. All right. So performance measurement baseline generally have 3 main baselines. With this, also there can be some KPIs or some other matrices. All right, that can be included here. That is known as performance measurement baseline. But generally, these 3 is the mandatory part of performance measurement baseline. All right, so we are done. Now, control cost. All right. So our budgeting is done. We have find out the cost baseline and we have started doing the project. Now, actual cost is happening. You are purchasing material, you are recruiting people, you are providing money for the daily laborers, weekly laborers. So you are spending money, all right, for every task, for different materials. So now your responsibility is to control that cost. So control cost is what? With the baseline, you have to always check and balance so that the cost cannot exceed that baseline. Is not exceed the baseline. So that is your main responsibility of control cost. You have to deliver within that cost baseline that we have found in the last process. And if there is any change required, control always talk about change, deal with change. If any change required related to cost, say the budget you have planned that is not working, and the value of the material is increased. So deal with that, you need more money. So that should be come through change management. If any, after doing the baseline, if any change comes and that has impact on cost baseline or any baseline, that must follow change management process as per the PMBOK. All right, without following change management and perform integrated change control process, you cannot do any change. All right, so control cost, if you see, what is the main input? Cost baseline is the main input, right? Cost baseline. All right. And performance measurement baseline is also combining all baseline, and also if there is any KPI set by your organization or by your sponsor. Then lesson learned register. Lot of lessons you will learn, because control cost actually when happening, generally later on the project. Work performance data. This in all the control cost process, generally we will see work performance data as input. This data is talking about cost related data and information. Say we have spent already, so after 1 week, your contractor is saying you or reporting you that we have already spent 2 lakh taka. So that is the performance data. So from that data, you can actually measure the progress, cost progress of your project. So what are the tools we will use in control cost or any control process? Generally, we see this kind of data analysis tool. Earned value analysis I will discuss in detail. So I am now skipping this. Variance analysis. See, the S-curve can also show you the variance, right? Trend analysis, what is the trend? So in our earlier figure, we have seen the trend was very okay, but at some point later on, the trend was wrong. So you have to analyze trend, what is happening, and also you have to adjust reserve analysis. You have kept reserve, continuous reserve for all work packages for all activities, whether that reserve is still okay or not. Do you need more money? Or for example, you have kept $20 for one activity, but that risk, that uncertainty, that adverse situation not happen, and you have saved $20. So reserve analysis will tell you what should you do with this $20. So this control cost reserve analysis is whether your reserve is still okay or not. Do you need more reserve, or can you release some money that you reserve for the activity, for the risks that did not happen? So that will the scope of reserve analysis. Okay, and to complete performance index, this is another mathematical tool of our menu analysis. So when I will discuss about earned value analysis, then I will also discuss about this. And you can use project management software that can, if you use Microsoft Project, then this earned value, this S-curve automatically drawn. And when you spend provide actual data, Microsoft Project can easily create this chart for you. So if you have any tool or manually you can do, or using Excel you can do. So all actually project management information system. So from here we will get forecast, right? How much money we already spent and how much money we need for the future activities. So you can do the forecast, and in earned value analysis you will see there are mathematical formulas. Using that formulas you can easily forecast. You can do the forecasting. If change request happens, control cost always produce as output change request. Change request is the common output for all the monitoring and control processes. So this change request actually, especially for the cost related change. So if any change comes, which is actually deviating or creating variance in your cost baseline, that you should deal formally with change management and also perform integrated change control process. All right, so other updates you can do. Planning updates may happen and project documents may update. Please remember, this update is not mandatory. Maybe for some process that can be updated, not mandatory. All right. Okay, so this is the control cost thing. Now, most probably, let me see what is there in the, okay, earned value analysis will, this is earned value analysis. So 10 minutes past 9, na? So earned value will take some 30-40 minutes. So if you understand value, then you can actually interpret this figure. This is also the figure is earned value management. And all are actually earned value related. Okay, so আজকে কি earned value পড়াবো নাকি না নেক্সট ক্লাসে শুরুতে পড়াবো কারণ এখন ম্যাথ হবে পুরো কমপ্লিট ম্যাথ একে আমরা এখানে স্টপ করে দিয়ে উইল স্টার্ট ইন দ্য নেক্সট ক্লাস উইথ earned value ম্যাথ
স্যার আমার মনে হয় যে নেক্সট ক্লাস থেকে শুরু করব কারণ
নেক্সট ক্লাসে
হ্যাঁ তাহলে আমরা নেক্সট ক্লাসে মানে একটু মাথা ফ্রেশ করে বসি কারণ ওখানে আমরা ম্যাথ শিখবো আর কি হ্যাঁ পেটে খিদা না নিয়ে এবং চা খেয়ে আমরা বলবো যাতে we can understand the math part. So very simple math and very interesting. And if you can use in your real life project this earned value analysis, that is a great tool actually discussing all the project management books. So that is a great tool you can use. All right, so in the next class on Monday, we will start with earned value management. And then it will take half an hour. Then we will actually start with quality chapter, quality management. So we are stopping here for today. So we will see you in the next class. Thank you for joining.